We are live, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the June 20, 2023 City Council Special Hybrid Meeting. I'm Mayor Salim Neese. This evening's hybrid City Council meeting is being brought to you by Zoom. We're also broadcasting live on MITV Channel 21 and on the city's YouTube channel. Welcome and thanks for joining us tonight. Council members, please have your microphones turned on for the roll call. City Clerk Andrea Larson, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Andral.
Here.
Councilmember Jacobson.
Here.
Councilmember Reynolds.
Here.
Councilmember Weicker is not here yet. Councilmember Weinberg.
Here.
I see Deputy Mayor Rosenbaum is standing outside my office and Mayor Neese.
Here. Very good. I have a quorum. Next, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. Council, please mute and turn off your video to ensure that the U.S. flag is visible. And join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we now move to approval of tonight's agenda. If there's no questions, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Okay, moved by Councilmember Reynolds, seconded by Councilmember Jacobson. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Weinberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Jacobson.
Aye.
Councilmember Reynolds.
Aye.
Councilmember Andral.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Rosenbaum does not look like he's joined us yet. Councilmember Weicker is also not joined us yet, and Mayor Neese.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, motion passes and the agenda is approved. Next up on the agenda, we have a study session for AB 6287, which is the Financial Management Software Implementation Update, for which we welcome Finance Director Matt Morning. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Neese, City Council, and City Manager Bond. I'm Matt Morning, your Finance Director. Please confirm when you see my opening slide.
Got it.
All right. Well, Council, for the past 7 months, the finance team has been hard at work building out the new financial management software system. We are excited for the opportunity to share an update on this multi-year project with the City Council. I'm joined this evening by core members of the project team, Deputy Finance Director Lawan Tuttle, Financial Systems Analyst Gracie Liu, Financial Analyst Ben Schumacher, our Accounting Specialist Jennifer Peterson, and as always, Master of Technology Alfredo Moreno. We're going to work through 19 slides, beginning with a brief summary on the origin of the project and why it's happening right now. I'm going to provide a high-level overview of the implementation plan and some context for where the project is currently at before we get to the focus of our presentation, where Jennifer, Ben, and Gracie will share examples of the software's functionality and how this investment is going to fundamentally improve city operations. We'll close with the schedule for the remaining work, next steps, and we're going to leave time at the end of the presentation for questions. So if questions come up, please note the respective slide, and we'll welcome them at the end. As a reminder, Council, ERP software, Enterprise Resource Planning software, makes up the financial management software systems that cities use to manage all day-to-day and long-term financial operations. So this includes the general ledger, which is the accounting term for the database structure that we use to account for all of our financial transactions. It also includes the preparing and tracking of the city's biennial budget, project management, grant management, as well as just collecting revenues and paying bills to keep the city churning. This data is systematically collected in the financial software system, and it equips staff over time to analyze and interpret the city's financial position for both council and the organization's leadership that's been set with accomplishing the directive set by the City Council. So the financial management system that we currently use is called One Solution, and it is owned and operated by Central Square. This slide lays out milestones of work that we've completed over the last 2 years that positioned us for where we are today. Work on this project began in earnest back in March 2021, when the software owner Central Square essentially signaled to us that they were no longer going to support the current version of one solution that we currently use. By June of 2021, we completed a comprehensive needs assessment that surveyed city staff and really helped us focus our goals and objectives and determine the ideal timing to either replace or upgrade our financial management software. The needs assessment guided the creation of an in-depth request for proposal that we released in August 2021 and generated responses from 3 companies. So after weeks of software demonstrations, reference checks, and just rounds of discussion, Tyler Technologies emerged as staff's recommended software vendor. In the first quarter of 2022, we presented the city council with options to either upgrade the solution or replace the current software with Enterprise ERP. That's the software that was offered by Tyler Technologies. And the council provided clear direction and budget authority to go with staff's recommendation, which was to create, you also gave us the authority to create a new full-time position and a temporary limited term position, and to commit to the larger investment of replacing the software as well as improving how we work in the city's overall customer experience. In the second and third quarter of last year, we successfully filled the financial systems analyst position with Gracie Liu, who has made an immediate and measurable impact with overseeing this project, with enhancing the city's reporting capabilities and just keeping the project on track. We also completed contract negotiations with the vendor and began the implementation project in November of last year. We are 7 months into the project and the work is on track. We divided the implementation into 3 phases. Phase 1 involves thinking through and configuring 14 different subsystems that work together and facilitate different tasks that collectively manage the city's day-to-day finances. We refer to these subsystems or software modules as the core financials. These include the general ledger, the budget, purchasing module, the accounts payable subsystem, among others. So the staff team aims to go live with core financials in the first quarter of 2024. And by that, I mean that these subsystems will be fully operational and used by trained staff by then. The phase 1A entails standing up a subsystem that ties into the core financials and equips the city to collect both online and over-the-counter payments for bills, fees, and just other city services. So this phase is scheduled to begin later this year and will wrap up by June 2024. The second and final phase of the project includes customizing Enterprise ERP to power a web-based platform so that businesses can submit business and occupation tax returns and payments via an online portal. This project phase is scheduled to begin in April 2024, in part because it entails much more custom software development and testing. It also has the potential to replace the current process, which is very manual, very paper-based, to collect business and occupation taxes. So all told, we are working to complete all phases of the implementation project by December 2024. Now, we'd like to share some of the ways we anticipate this software is going to change how we work for the better. So I'd like to hand it off to my colleague and project team member, Jennifer Peterson, to discuss how paying bills is just going to be made easier via Enterprise ERP.
Thank you, Matt. Hi, my name is Jennifer, and I'm the accounting specialist for the city. I'm going to touch on the accounts payable process and the improvements that will be brought about by the software implementation. So the current city process to pay for goods and services is pretty outdated. Electronic invoices are stored outside the city's financial software, often in multiple locations. Paper invoices are manually scanned and stored, resulting in a significant use of staff time. Enterprise ERP has a centralized database with a fully digital process to pay for goods and services. All invoices are accessible to staff from within the financial management software's database, eliminating the need for paper invoice storage or digital storage outside the software. It simplifies the invoicing process and gives staff centralized and easy access to the essential information, which for me personally, carrying around boxes of paper everywhere has proven difficult, so this is pretty exciting. The efficiency will change current processes, especially when considering paper checks and 1099 forms. Next slide, please. The current financial software requires the city to make all payments via paper check. This requires staff to print, fold, and mail hundreds of checks on a weekly basis. With Enterprise ERP, payments will be processed via Automated Clearinghouse, or ACH, eventually phasing out paper checks entirely. This reduces the risk of fraud and also the overall use and reduces the use of staff resources. Currently, one solution does not have the ability to print 1099 tax forms. This information is currently downloaded and then manually entered into a third-party website. But with Enterprise ERP, the city will no longer need to use the third-party software, saving money, staff time, and improving overall data security. And with that, I will pass it to my colleague, Ben, who will talk about new efficiencies coming to our project management side of the house.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Ben Schumacher. I'm your financial analyst here at the City of Mercer Island. And so I just wanted to touch on briefly kind of the efficiencies we're looking to gain on the project management side of the house. So Enterprise ERP, which is our new financial software, actually offers an entirely new toolkit when it comes to project management that far surpasses anything in our current financial system. One of the biggest functionalities we're looking to gain here is the ability to map project activity across multiple years. And by that, we mean, so as part of the biennial budget process, we assign budget to projects essentially on a year-to-year basis because our current financial system requires that. In this new system, we're actually gaining the ability to track project data across multiple years much more fluidly. The new system, for example, has an option for life to date when it comes to each project. And so projects that span across multiple biennial budgets, which we currently have some CIP projects in the works that are doing that, we're able to designate that in the financial system itself and track the data for that project much more cleanly. Two significant improvements that I'll touch on briefly is the benefits we're gaining from centralizing our project database in the new system, as well as the improved reporting capabilities that are going to come from that. Next slide, please. So when we speak about the benefits of centralizing our project database, these first two bullet points of entire lifecycle of a project being in one spot, as well as improving our data entry processes are very closely tied together. So as it stands, our current CIP application or our current CIP process starts with the CIP application that's very Excel-based that finance staff has created. And so a project manager will come in, fill out project information, including project financial data. So what are the resources required, the funding resources required, as well as the expected expenditures for each project. They'll do this for each project. These projects are then scored and then assigned resources based on their scores. And at that point, we need to enter them into our current financial system and then create the preliminary budget that then comes to council for approval. At the time that we need to enter in the preliminary budget, finance staff actually has to duplicate that data entry, all those project financials that are in those application sheets. Finance staff has to duplicate into our current system, which just doubles the work that's happening. In our new system, because we're having project managers enter their projects directly into the financial system itself, all of the financial data that the project-specific financial data they're entering there will track with that project for its entire life, which entirely eliminates the need to duplicate that data entry, which saves a significant amount of staff resources. We're also looking to gain a greater degree of consistency when it comes to tracking our project data by having all of this centralized. As it currently stands, project data is very decentralized and tracked in multiple Excel spreadsheets that project managers and finance staff oversee individually. By putting and most of that is coming from the need that our current financial system can't track all the data we need inside of the system itself. Because our new system is we're gaining so much functionality with our new financial system, we're actually able to track things like retainage, project milestones, project phases inside the financial system itself. And then document tracking is something I'm very personally excited about. So in the new financial system, we are actually able to link contracts themselves to the projects. So on a project screen, you'll be able to click on a little button for contracts that'll bring up any associated contracts with that project. And then even going a step further with just another simple click of the button, you can see any sort of invoices that are open against that contract. And it just very much more intimately links all of that pertinent contract data together and makes it much more simple to find than what it currently is. Next slide, please. And then touching on the reporting capabilities we're gaining. So what you're seeing here is a screenshot of just a standard contract screen or a standard project screen. So this is what a project manager would start to fill out as they made a new contract. In our new system, we're actually gaining the capability to query the system on any available data field you see in front of you, which is any gray field. So we'll go ahead and start, just as an example, we'll start with something as simple as status. So the status field, where a project manager would mark a project as active, closed, pending, on hold, things of that nature. In our new system, or currently, if you wanted the status of every project, you would have to go to each project manager, you would have to ask them for a status report, which takes staff resources and time to turn around that answer. In our new system, we'll gain the capability to query the system and say, how many active projects did we have in 2023? Or how many projects are closed throughout 2023? And then we're looking to really improve the kind of workflow communication between upper management staff and project managers, so project managers can focus on more pertinent project work. And that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to reporting capabilities. At this point, I'll go ahead and pass it to my colleague Gracie to dive a little bit deeper into that.
Thank you, Ben. And good evening, Council, Mayor, and the City Manager. This is Gracie Liu, your Financial Systems Analyst. And in this section, I'm going to talk about the benefits brought by the reporting service of the new software. But before we jump into that, I would like to talk a little bit more about the challenges we are facing in the current reporting services of this old system. As shown here in this slide, the above picture is the budget to actual report directly generated from the current system. And because this pre-built report is configured back to 10 years ago, so when we are doing the data analysis, when we export this report out to this Excel format, as shown in the below picture, we can see that it's almost unreadable, it's less user-friendly, and requires a significant reformatting. Another example, as shown in next slide, is our quarterly financial status update. Taking this general fund expenditure table as an example, in order to generate this, our financial analyst needs to run the pre-built expenditure report in the current system for each department one by one manually and do the reformatting, and then finally merge them together into a single table to do the data analysis. And the situation becomes even worse, as shown in the next slide, as when we're considering the different versions of the budget and the information from different years, the manual effort gets doubled or tripled. So as a result, for this single general fund expenditure report, our financial analyst needs to manually run to generate the report around 42, and also do the reformatting work on this. Time spent on this task usually takes 2 to 3 days. While in the new system, as shown in the next slide, it enables us a powerful reporting service in which we can customize this report to reduce the number of database queries from multiple to single query to pull all the data out of the database, and customize this report to eliminate manual reformatting in order to generate the desired report. And as a result, we only need to generate one report, and the time spent to pull this data out of the database is only takes minutes. And next slide, please. Thank you. So as a conclusion, this new reporting service of this new enterprise ERP, it helps us to reduce the total number of reports generated tremendously. It also reduces the report processing time from days to minutes. In addition, with the user training and the permission configuration, we can also decentralize this report generating tasks to each department for their specific needs. Next slide, please. So with all the efficiencies brought by the new enterprise ERP discussed in today's presentation, we are confident that this new system will equip our city staff to work more efficiently and effectively to better serve the public. And our core project team is working closely with the Tyler Technologies implementation team to work on this system configuration and trying to launch it on time with high quality. As shown in the next slides, this picture shows the phase 1 timeline. And currently, we are working on the current and future state analysis for the 14 core financial modules identified. And with all these 14 modules, we have completed 12 of them. We have 2 additional modules pending to be completed by next month. After that, we will switch into the system configuration and refinement, as well as the data conversion from the old system into the new system. And after all this work is completed, our core project team will work on the system validation as well as the staff training process for this to get us well prepared for the phase 1 launch, which is scheduled for the first quarter of 2024. And we plan to provide the council a further project status update in 2024 quarter 1. And that's all. Thank you for your time, and we're ready for the questions.
Perfect, great. I'm sure there'll be many. Council, any questions? I'm going to hit you up to get started here, Gracie. And maybe it's not a question for you, it might be a question for Ben. The transition to paying vendors through ACH, does it connect the terms of the payment terms of the agreement, if it's 30 or 60 or 90 days from invoicing with the system? And is the system kind of picking that up before it's sending an ACH, making sure we're maximizing our cash flow?
I think Deputy Finance Director Luan Tuttle can speak to that question, Mayor.
Hi, Luan Tuttle, your Deputy Finance Director. The system does have the capability at the vendor level to set vendor terms that would enable paying ACH payments more associated with terms as opposed to kind of batch processing, which is what we do now. So it would allow us to sort of age our payables, if you will, and pay anything that's either currently due or due within the next 30 to 60 days. So yes, it does have that ability.
Excellent. All right, next up is Councilmember Jacobson.
Yes, on slide number 10, the question I have is my understanding from what was said about that and from what was looked at there that at the present time, all the data about a project, that is to say start date, finish date, status, money spent, budget remaining, all these kinds of things have to be manually entered. Is that correct?
Just for clarification, Council Member, are you referring to the current software?
Well, let's start there. Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and just clarify. Your question is for just managing the life cycle of a project. How is it currently managed now with the current software? Is that essentially the question?
How will that change?
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and respond to that. Thank you for the question. Currently, projects are managed outside of the current financial management software. So each project manager, we have many, manages their projects as they see fit. Some use Excel files, most use Excel files for tracking their project schedules, tracking their project budgets. But everything gets tracked in one solution when it comes to the approved budget, the budget that the council adopts and authorizes, and invoices once they're paid. So we track actuals after the invoices have been paid and we've reconciled monthly expenditures on a monthly basis. So that's how we currently manage it now. And we'll add that as you probably gather, it's a very manual process with very few tools provided by our current financial management software. And I'll see if Ben Schumacher has anything to add to that. And I'm not seeing him, so I'm assuming, oh, there it is, Ben.
No, I think you covered it well, Matt. Thank you.
Okay. And as go ahead, Councilmember Jacobson. Is there a follow-up question?
Well, that's the old system. How will a new system differ?
Okay. I'm gonna hand it over to Ben to speak to all of the fantastic tools that the new system is going to offer us.
Maybe not all. I think I'd keep us here all night if I did that. But just speaking to some of it, so this new system, our current system we're dealing with is a legacy system. It's 20 plus years old. It just doesn't have the functionality that essentially what an Excel sheet provides a project manager nowadays. And so that's why project managers have used or have relied on Excel to really manage their projects. This new system, because it's so new and because it has a lot of extra functionality we currently don't have in our financial system, they will be less reliant on those financial or those Excel spreadsheets to manage their projects. And we're actually able to gain a lot of the functionality that those Excel sheets are providing and have it housed inside the financial system itself.
So let me ask one follow-up question, if I may, Mr. Mayor. That is, so will the project managers or those persons responsible for a particular project utilize new tools and not have to go to Excel, or how does that transition work?
So I'll tackle that. The idea is, yes, they won't have to use these Excel spreadsheets to be able to manage certain aspects of a project. For example, something in the new system that exists is the idea of tracking milestones inside the system itself. And so there's actually a feature of the new system where a project manager can set certain milestones on a project, whether that be amount of budget spent or anything along those lines, or certain aspects of the project being completed. And that will be a workflow inside the new system that isn't currently available to project managers. So it should be able to kind of, the idea and the hope is that it will streamline their workflow and allow just an easier transition between phases of a project, or as a project's life cycle goes on, to really enable them with more tools to actively manage their projects and then report out on those projects.
Thank you.
Very good. Welcome, Councilmember Weicker. Floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Apologies for being late. I just want to ask Matt, like in my experience, sometimes these transitions don't always work. There's sometimes an 11th hour glitch, or you hit go and something goes wrong. So what are your contingency plans for any sort of debacle that might occur on the day you switch over?
Well, we appreciate the question, Council Member. We have an eye towards delivering a high quality product at the end of this. And so our contingency plan is time. You have seen our timeline, and we are committed to seeing that through for the benefit of the city and the organization. But I'm not afraid of asking for more time. These are incredibly complex projects. They're organization-wide. They involve all staff, intimately involve dozens of staff. And so at the risk of jeopardizing the entire project, we will make sure we will not let that happen, and we'll just make sure that we are methodical. We're very careful with how we use our resources, and we make sure that the foundational elements that we need to build out right now, and we're building out right now, we're doing so with an eye towards making sure this works over the long term. So we'll keep you updated as our work progresses, but our commitment is to make sure this is fully integrated and serves the community well for a long term.
100 years from now. Yeah, I'll just say thank you for taking it on, and thank you for executing, and really appreciate all your work throughout the organization to get this done.
Very good. Councilmember Weimer.
So first of all, my compliments to staff. I think you guys have done an excellent job of identifying and quantifying the benefits of this new system. That is the right investment for us to be making at this time. I couldn't be happier with our choice here. And I'm delighted also to hear that it's progressing according to plan. Great. Let's hope it stays that way. A few questions. One is the Tyler Technology system that we are installing something that is on premise, or is this hosted by Tyler?
It is currently on premise, but we have an eye towards, we did that for the implementation period. all of the customers who contract with Tyler Technologies, the majority of them are using a cloud-based subscription model. And Tyler Technologies is encouraging all of their customers in the lower 48 to commit to that. We decided that if we do on-premise for our implementation period, we will have more control over the software, and there's a little bit more security inherent in that. And we think that Tyler probably has not fully vetted their on-cloud solution and all the protocols associated with it. So I invite Gracie or Alfredo to speak more to that, but we anticipate we're going to make that transition to cloud-based, but when that opportunity is more ripe based on Tyler's the financial resources that Tyler commits to ensuring that their cloud-based model is fully vetted.
Yes. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, currently our system is deployed on-prem, and we are hosting it ourselves, and we are controlling it by controlling the security and the functionals by ourselves to make sure that we gain the most benefit out of the system. But we are open to transition to the cloud-based system, and we are closely monitoring our neighboring cities and other Tyler Technology clients with their feedbacks and their customer experience from the cloud-based system user experience from that part. So we are closely monitoring that, and we, based on their feedback and the result, we are building our plan to migrating to the future cloud-based services. Thank you.
I do have some other questions, but I'll wait my turn if you want to go ahead and call the next person.
Thanks, Ted. Councilmember Enderall.
Thanks. I don't actually have any questions, but I just did want to say thank you to Matt and your entire team for putting this together. Very well done. Long overdue, but you only got to do it when you got to do it. So I appreciate that it's getting ready. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Councilmember Jacobson.
Yes, I'm inferring from what the answer to Councilmember Weiker's question that in terms of system verification, I guess it is, or validation, that systems will be run in parallel for some period of time. Is that assumption correct?
Yes, but precisely for how long and in what capacity, we have not fully determined it yet. And I think we need to get through our system validation phase, which is going to take place later this year for our core financials, to fully understand the vulnerabilities associated with that and how we can best serve the city by making sure we run parallel systems. I will also just note that our current software one solution, we own that version of the software, and we will have it available to us beyond the point in which we fully transition to the new software. So it's a database that will remain available to us as we need it.
Thank you.
I'm going to jump in. Matt, this might be a question for you. I wanted to ask on the status of accrual versus cash accounting and the transition. Does any of this project affect the timeline of that? Do you have any more information you can share on that changeover?
I can say that this project has taken up a significant amount of our team's time. And Deputy Finance Director Lon Tuttle is here, who can kind of speak to where we're at with processing our financial statements and how we're planning to transition to cash basis.
Great.
Yeah, we are not yet cash basis. I think the transition to a new ERP is probably the best time to make that happen. And again, I just sort of want to remind the council that a cash basis accounting really implies how we compile an audit report. And it doesn't necessarily change the day-to-day accounting and recording of transactions. It's truly just how we prepare audited financial statements, whether it's full accrual versus cash basis. But on a day-to-day basis, under bars, we are in fact modified accrual, which is this hybrid, if you will, between the two functions, either full accrual or cash. But on a day-to-day basis, we will remain sort of that modified accrual for fund basis accounting, and cash basis will be how we transition for audit purposes only.
So are we going to target a January 1 after implementation, or are we going to pick a mid-year point after implementation?
My preference would likely be to do it as of January 1 in the year in which we implement, so it wouldn't be until 2024.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you. Councilmember Weinberg.
Yeah, follow-on question to Councilmember Jacobson's question. It's customary in IT systems to have multiple environments in parallel, a production environment, and then one that is for development or testing. I've seen some systems actually have 5 environments: so development, staging, training, testing, and a staging environment. But I was wondering if are we planning to long-term have more than one environment for this, so that as new changes or service packs or other edits are required, we have a way to do it in a non-production environment first to make sure it doesn't break anything before we move it into production?
Yes, thank you, Councilmember, for your question. For this question, actually, currently we have 4 environments available, which is, yes, 4 environments: implementation, training, and testing, and the product environment. And firstly, when we in the implementation stage, we're using the implementation environment, and we're using the training environment as well as the testing environment for the system testing, as well as the user training before we go live. And once these 3 environments are past our system validation, we finally switch into the production environment for actual product launch. But even once we launch this product, although we will deprecate the implementation environment according to the contract, we will still keep the training environment and the testing environment up and running for our future testing purpose and the training purpose, as well as when we complete the frequent system deployment and upgrade, we'll first test these upgrades in the training and the test environment before we apply these upgrades in the final production environment.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilmember Jacobson.
Yes, coming at this from the perspective of a project manager or a department head, the need for data, in my experience, varies wildly between what the functions of the project or the department are, and at least that's true in the construction industry. And so my question is, how does a project manager go through getting an update, maybe updates weekly? Is that possible under the new system? And if so, how much pain and suffering is involved in doing that?
Well, one of the primary selling points for why the interdepartmental team that reviewed the 3 vendors selected Tyler Technologies was because of the reporting capabilities. As we've already started to learn in our testing phase during the software implementation, we recognized tremendous ability compared to what we're doing now. I could share with the council, if we had all night, dozens of examples of how limited staff is with pulling data out of one solution. We used, at the risk of putting it too simply, we used canned reports that process out information, and we can't really modify those reports to a large extent without writing significant new coded reports that are quite cumbersome to do. So with the new software, finance is developing internally the skill set required to customize reports swiftly and without limit. So our hope is that project managers and all of our stakeholders can come to us and give us input on, including the city council, on the kinds of financial information that they want derived out of the system. and we can go and build those reports, modify those reports, enhance those reports over time so that we're getting really good information. Because at the end of the day, that's what this system is all about, getting information out of it. And so we're going to be much better served by Enterprise ERP.
Okay. Yeah, I could foresee that on projects which the department itself is executing, say in public works, that the need for more frequent cost updates is much more sensitive than things that are done by third parties, since the third parties are controlled by what we elect to pay, and or the cost of third party services is affected by how quickly and how much we decide to pay. So that's the reason for my question. And I think that you'll find there will be significant variance between the frequency needed by one group versus another. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
I'm going to take a quick turn. To do public works and a lot of the things that we have in our maintenance repertoire, we carry a lot of inventory. Is there an inventory module to all of this? And if so, are we carrying forward inventory from the old system, or do we have to go out and do a whole inventory?
Are you referring to inventory associated with just the city's capital assets?
Yeah, spare valves, spare all sorts of widgets that are necessary to keep the city, up and running.
I can take that one. So currently our public works department uses their own primary software system called CityWorks. And within CityWorks, for all things to maintain assets, whether it's water infrastructure, sewer infrastructure, streets, they do maintain an inventory and a warehouse for those consumables through the CityWorks project. I don't anticipate we will bring that into ERP. It will remain in the work order system with CityWorks, with some probably integrations on the financial side with ERP.
So if we have a pipe break and then city workers, obviously an emergency, go and repair that pipe break, if they're pulling things from inventory, do we capture all of the costs associated with that?
Correct. Yes, that is captured through CityWorks at this point.
Excellent. Perfect. Councilmember Weinberg.
Yeah, so I believe in the packet, there is a description in page 3 talking about the different data integration points. So there's 16 different third-party package or software systems within the city, and some of which may need integration, or actually I think it was, says that to varying degrees, they're going to need integration with the Tyler technology system. I guess I want to make sure I was reading that correctly, that there's 16 integration points that need to be developed for this project. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And do we know how many of those are on-prem versus cloud?
I don't have that available at the ready, Councilmember, but I can follow up with you as needed. And I see Gracie just popped up. I don't know if she has that answer either.
Yeah, for that question, currently we don't have a detailed number of how many systems are on-prem and how many systems are on cloud, but currently our new enterprise ERP is on-prem. So our first goal is to integrate those systems with this on-prem enterprise ERP, and then with the future transition to cloud-based service, these service will be a next project phase, possibly, to integrate them with the cloud-based integration.
Okay. And this next question might be something that I should send you guys an email because it might involve some follow-up, but I'm wondering, of those 16 systems, how many of them have existing integrations that Tyler Technologies has implemented for other cities that they could just essentially copy, paste, and change a few fields to make it work for us? And how many of them are integrations they're going to need to develop for us? I'm guessing that's good. That question would take a bit of research to answer. So I'll send that in mail unless you happen to know off the top of your head.
We don't know precisely off the top of our head, but you raise a good point, Councilmember, that there are some efficiencies here, given that this is not the first time Tyler's implemented this software for a small-sized city in Washington. And so there are some opportunities here to use a standard interface or an API that has already been established as a best practice by Tyler Technologies for us to go ahead and use that. So we're fortunately not working with any extremely antiquated software that Tyler has signaled to us that there's going to be an issue with interfacing. All signals point to this being just a challenging but normal part of the implementation project. So we're happy to follow up with you via email with that list.
Cool. Yeah, I'll follow up with the rest of my questions in email. Thanks, guys.
Excellent. All right, bring us home, Councilmember Jacobson.
Yes, I have one of the most frequent methods of embezzlement from cities or theft, however you want to characterize it, is invoices and false invoices that get put into a system, and the system itself doesn't raise any red flags on that. Matt, could you tell us where we are with that now, or without giving away our secrets, and whether our capability in this area is going to be greater once implementation is completed?
Just so I follow, Councilmember, the question pertains to the additional security that we will gain with the new software system.
That'll do.
Okay. I welcome Alfredo to chime in here, but I can just say offhand that there is notable gains with going with a software system that was last updated in 2023 versus 2009. So we're going to have two-factor authentication implemented right away in a seamless fashion, so it's not too cumbersome for city staff. And I welcome Alfredo to speak to how this software is going to be fortified in terms of cybersecurity.
Hello, for the record, I'm Alfredo Moreno, your IT manager. On a very high level, security frameworks from 20 years ago are very different than the security frameworks that are recommended for today. So things like least privilege and zero trust, those frameworks that exist now don't exist back then. And so the software that we're implementing now, Tyler Moody's, is inherently more secure already, just straight from the box. They follow just stronger philosophies as far as how to secure, what to secure, and henceforth. I'm sorry, did that answer your question, Council Member?
Yes, but I think I'd like to pursue that a little more offline, because I've got a bunch of questions and my colleagues are going to shoot me if I ask all of them. So
only if you continue. Only if you keep going.
I understand that, Mr. Mayor. So I'm off. Thank you, and well done to the team for taking on this task. It isn't easy.
For sure, it's a big process, and we appreciate the update and the thorough responses to the questions, and whatever kind of comes as a written follow-up. Appreciate the feedback on that. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
All right. Next on our agenda, we have the City Manager's Report, for which we welcome City Manager Jesse Bond.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I believe I have some assistance with the PowerPoint this evening. There we go. Thank you, Amanda. All right, it is Tuesday, June 20th. I'm going to take a special privilege and give a shout out to my husband. And thank you for allowing me to do my job tonight while you are celebrating your birthday at home with the kids. Okay, next slide. Council, you received a recent email from me, as did our staff team. Just a reminder, the City Hall is closed. This is due to disturbed tiles and materials that we discovered all the way back in April that were confirmed to contain asbestos. As we tested our building, we discovered above background levels of asbestos in portions of the City Hall HVAC system. We are continuing to test and determine the limits of the asbestos inside the HVAC system. It may seem like it's taking a long time. It is. We have a lot of ducts to continue testing, and we have still not determined the limits. So that work is ongoing. How are we operating right now? Our municipal court is operating out of the Kirkland Municipal Justice Center. We thank the city of Kirkland for hosting us during this time. Most of our other staff teams are relocated to other buildings or working remote right now. We have a lot of staff here at the community center where I am this evening. We are working with consultants, not only on the City Hall building, but also to identify potentially some short-term office solutions because the abatement scenario for the HVAC system at City Hall is going to take well beyond this summer to remedy. And I think we certainly have some bigger conversations as well that we need to have. I'm preparing to be in front of you, hopefully by the second meeting in July, with a comprehensive update on our findings and present you with some options to consider. So we thank our community for their patience. This has not been ideal. We are doing our best to serve everyone creatively and in some cases remotely. And if there are ways we can be of assistance, I encourage anyone to reach out to our customer service team. Okay, next slide. So while City Hall is closed, council, as you all know, and just for anyone watching our council meetings, the participants, the council members and staff are back to Zoom. We do have a room here at the community center should anyone wish to come and view the meeting or provide testimony from this location. Council, also a reminder, we have a July 4th holiday coming up. It's on a Tuesday, so we have moved our council meeting to July 5th. That's a Wednesday. Also on deck for board and commission meetings, the Planning Commission does have a meeting at the end of this month at 6 o'clock, and they are also back to Zoom due to the City Hall closure. Next slide, please. Speaking of boards and commissions, we were able to fill almost all of the open seats on our boards. We do have a vacancy on our Arts Council still, so we have reopened the recruitment for the Arts Council. It will remain open, through the end of August. And council, we hope to have you make an appointment at your September 5th City Council meeting. Okay, a few updates, mostly around projects. City Council, you are aware that we have a project in our capital budget for this biennium to resurface and do some pretty major work actually on the tennis courts at the Luther Burbank Park. So in your adopted 2022 Parks, Recreation and Open Space plan, we definitely prioritized implementing more pickleball court facilities. So what is proposed at Luther Burbank is converting 2 of the 3 existing courts to pickleball use, with the third one possibly being also dedicated to pickleball or shared use. Those layouts are being worked on right now by staff and consultants. We've had, I think, over 100 comments in from our pickleball community, so they're pretty excited. We will be taking those the recommendation on the layout to the Parks and Rec Commission, and I am pretty sure that is going to their July meeting. And then we will be hopefully connecting with you before we finalize the project scope and get it ready for design and bid. So that's a project that's underway, just in case you're hearing about it from the community. Next slide, please. Speaking of Luther Burbank, and this actually has to do with the Luther Burbank Dock and Waterfront project, we are looking for your ideas from the community. We have selected artist Marsha Rollinger, who will be developing bronze pieces, also known as medallions, to be incorporated in the Luther Burbank waterfront project. So community members can share their ideas at the summer events or online on Let's Talk if you have some design ideas for the Mercer Island medallions to be part of that larger public project. Okay, another just heads up, we wanted to make you aware. You may recall in 2021, we purchased a small property on the corner of Island Crest and Southeast 40th. There was a house there that was deconstructed. It's right next to one of our most significant intersections, and we obtained it for transportation purposes for the future of that intersection. So the lot has been cleared, and we are completing a design concept for just some very modest improvements to the site, including sidewalks, ramps, and an access path. So that's the sketch there, the very preliminary sketch. I just wanted to make you aware that project is moving forward, and we will be out to bid in the next few weeks. Right-of-way safety maintenance. If you've been out and about in the city, I'm sure you have, you've seen lots of activity happening. I wanted to make sure you knew what was going on. Our right-of-way team installed new LED luminaire heads on some of our existing poles at the intersection of 77th and Sunset Highway. They also located and remapped the electrical system in that area. Thank you to them for doing that work. We have been out replacing the turtles. If Jason Kintner was here, he would shake his head because that's not actually what they're called. They're replacing over 5,000 raised pavement markers along the arterials. You see the trucks out with the little glue machines, putting down those markers. We typically lose some over the winter season due to plowing and sanding and such. So that work is happening and will be ongoing for a couple more weeks. This is both a heads up and come out and get involved, and a shout out to everybody that is putting in lots of time and energy at our restoration events. Our volunteer program coordinator, Jordan Fisher, we'll have to get her here to one of these meetings soon, has been busy organizing and leading many events and trainings. Just in the last 2 weeks, we've had 6 events, including a pruning workshop for forest stewards, a Trails Day event. We had the 6th graders out for ivy removal. We also worked with the French American School. And we hosted, this is pretty cool, a forest stewardship service-based birthday party. So there you go, doing lots of fun things. We want to say thanks to Jordan, our staff member, and all of our forest stewards for coming on out. If you'd like to get involved, we keep everything updated on our calendar there, and certainly reach out to Jordan if you'd like to host a birthday party or another event with family and friends. We'd appreciate it. The bike skills area, another project. It's busy. It's park season. Can you tell? Last week, we shared that I shared with you that staff are working through the permitting process with related to critical areas review and the SEPA review for the bike skills area at Island Crest Park, adjacent to the Dean's Children's Park. The public comment period for the critical area review 2 and the SEPA application opened today and will remain open through July 20th. Council, we did update the Let's Talk page with that information if you'd like to go check it out. We also want to invite the community to come on out and help us prep the site for construction. So Thursday, July 6th from 3 to 5, we'll looking for volunteers to come and help us clear and compost the non-native plants, and to salvage and repot the native plants for to be replanted at a later time. So another really important volunteer event. And again, we have the information on this project on our Let's Talk page. June celebrations. Hey, I was scrambling a little bit today. My thanks to my executive assistant, Amanda, and the Parks team for helping pull this slide together. I just wanted to say we had a really, really wonderful weekend, even though Mother Nature was messing with us a bit. We had Pride in the Park on Saturday, supported by Mercer Island High School, the Pride and PTSA Affinity Group. We want to thank everybody for coming out and helping make that event possible. And then actually yesterday, Monday, the Mercer Island High School Black Student Union partnered with the city, our Parks and Rec department, to host a Juneteenth community celebration. I was out there late in the afternoon. We had lots of fun happening, activities in the activities in the open lawn area. We had some wonderful booths, partnerships, some fantastic music. Everyone was just having a really great time. So thank you to everyone that helped organize these two fun community events. And that sort of officially kicks off our summer event season. All right, speaking of, a couple things coming up. Our emergency management staff will be out doing their annual emergency well training at Rotary Park this Friday. Stop on by and say hi. We learned in April it's important to exercise, activating that well. So we thank them for giving up part of their day for that training. And again, we invite you to come on out and learn about how all that works. Also an emergency management theme, emergency Preparedness Day will be Saturday, June 24th at Luther Burbank Park. We will have the Mercer Island radio operators out along with our emergency management volunteers. They'll be doing a field day event. This is a nationwide event. We're really excited they're participating again, where we work on communicating through the ham radios. So really important that we're doing this training and testing and participating in field days should something happen where that is the only way we have means of communicating. So thank you to our volunteers for making that happen. All right, senior lunch and conversation, June 27th at noon at the community center. We'll be hosting a senior lunch with a presentation on British rock. Registration is free, but we do need you to register in advance to come for lunch. Council, you are all invited. And we want to say thank you to Bell Harbor for partnering with us on this event. All right, the big one. Can you believe it's almost July? I have no idea where the month of June went. Summer celebration is July 15th. We are really excited. The Parks and Rec staff are just working really hard. We're excited to welcome back the parade, and we still have openings for sponsorships, community booths, art vendors, and food trucks. So if you're interested in getting involved, we have the link there. And council, I just want to say thank you. You know, this community is so wonderful. Many sponsors have come forward already: Mercer Island Martial Arts, Mercer Island Community Fund, Mercer Island Apartment Homes, Bell Harbor, and Jake Jacobson, which might be a familiar name to some of you. So thank you. Still opportunities available if anyone else would like to get involved. All right, bring it on home here. Some good news. You've probably seen this. I believe we shared this information. We hosted a contest to select a design for the t-shirts at Summer Celebration and other branding for Summer Celebration. The winner is Mercer Island resident Ashley Dimmick. She was just pictured in the image that faded there. So that will be on the shirts. And thank you, Ashley, and actually to everyone that participated in the competition. It was great to see all the submittals. And finally, so sad, we are saying goodbye next week to Officer Jennifer Franklin after 33 years of service to the city. She has held many, many positions, including patrol officer, DARE officer, crime prevention officer, and more recently, you know her as our emergency manager. Friday, June 30th is her last day, and we are really, really sad to see her go. I know the council joins me in saying thank you, Jennifer, for your service. And council members, Chief Holmes will be getting in touch with you about Jennifer's retirement party. So thanks again for your service, Officer Franklin, and we wish you well. And please answer your phone when you call, because I'm sure we'll have questions. And that is it. Thank you, Amanda, for your assistance this evening.
Thank you. All right. Our next item of business is appearances. This is an opportunity for anyone to speak to the City Council on any item. Tonight's agenda will include in-person public appearances and remote public appearances via Zoom. Individuals wishing to address the council may do so in person or by Zoom or telephone, provided they registered with the city clerk by 4 p.m. today. When it's your turn to speak, you'll be called by name. Remarks must be addressed to the council as a whole and not to individual council or staff members. As it's election season, please be reminded that state law, specifically RCW 42.17a 555, prohibits the use of city facilities for campaign-related purposes with limited exceptions. Accordingly, please do not make campaign-related comments during your time. Please speak audibly, state your name and city of residence for the record. There'll be a timer on the screen. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. When your time is ended, I'll thank you for your comments and move to the next item next speaker or item of business. Staff, please call the first speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first speaker tonight is Addie Smith.
Welcome.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Go ahead.
I spoke a couple of weeks ago and I informed everyone here that with everyone here, with the exception of Councilmember Weinberg, received my emails about the hate crimes that my daughter and I endured for months prior to November 2019. Every single council member here, with the exception of Councilmember Weinberg, received those emails about the hate crimes that were happening to my daughter and I on Mercer Island by white residents living in the building that I was hired to manage. Every single one of them received multiple emails. Every single one of these people here, with the exception of Councilmember Weinberg, including the mayor and the previous mayor, Mr. Wong, Benson Wong. In October of 2019, I received an email from Chief Holmes and it said, quote, "I am hopeful things will settle down for you soon," meaning that he hoped the white racists that were attacking not only me, but my daughter would settle down. And they didn't. And the police that I had gone to, Mercer Island Police, his officers that I had gone to for months since June of 2019, wouldn't write one single police report. And in November, when one of the white racists who attacked me at the elevator in the building I was living in, and I defended myself, those same police officers that I have video of asking them to help stop the attacks arrested me and charged me with provoking an assault. This has ruined my life. This has ruined my career for 4 years because of the actions of the people sitting here. The inaction, their refusal to hold white racists on Mercer Island accountable, did nothing. And now that my daughter and I have found out that we have been exposed to asbestos from coming to court having to defend myself, we are still getting silence from these people sitting here. My life, like I said, I have been dealing with anxiety and depression and everything because these people sitting here refuse to do anything to stop racism from happening and hate crimes from happening to Black people living on Mercer Island by white people. So much more interested in their elections and their votes and their racism, I guess, that they refuse to do anything to help us. I am never going to stop telling people what you've done.
Okay, next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Betty Lee.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sure can.
Hi there. Okay, so good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Betty Lee. I live on the south end of Mercer Island in a cul-de-sac. 2 weeks ago, I was home with my husband during a break-in. It happened on a Saturday at 6 p.m. We heard glass breaking. We saw a man swinging at our glass door trying to come in. The intruder ran after my husband yelled at him. Unfortunately, our next door neighbor's house was ransacked. We were lucky he wasn't armed, but he may not have ran if I was alone or a frail elderly person or a teenager. Earlier this year, 3 homes near me were burglarized. A month ago, armed robbery happened on East Mercer. So in all of these cases, automated license plate readers could have assisted in catching the criminals. 3 police cars on Mercer Island have these plate readers. Medina, Clyde Hill, Hunts Point all use them to protect their residents. Our homeowners association is looking into the flock system as a deterrent. But I thought since we live on an island with only 8 entries and 6 exits, 14 cameras will be able to protect 25,000 residents. I did an online poll on Nextdoor to gauge support versus opposition. 85% of respondents supported. That's total of 633 people in 10 days. So in conclusion, by doing the poll online, I was able to find out that the islanders are concerned about their safety and security. They do want 24/7 video surveillance of the island entrances and exits. They are willing to spend $10 of their property tax each year on such systems. If we don't act as a city, individual neighborhoods will. Crime will be displaced to areas without monitoring. Data will be in the hands of homeowners, and the disparity could be glaring. So I want to say that please don't wait for more crimes to happen in our city before acting. All our neighboring communities have these cameras.
Thank you.
80.
Okay. Any other public comment?
There are no further speakers tonight, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we now move to our next item of business, which is approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda contains AB 6288, June 2nd, 2023 payroll certification, certification of claims for June 9, 2023, City Council meeting minutes of June 6, special hybrid meeting, AB 6263 roadside shoulder improvements, West Mercer Way, Phase 3, AB 6286 renewed 2024 through 2026 interlocal cooperation agreement with King County Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, and Home Investment Partnerships, HOME, program consortiums. Council may have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Councilmember Reynolds, seconded by Councilmember Weinberg. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Reynolds.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Rosenbaum.
Aye.
Councilmember Weinberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Jacobson.
Aye.
Mayor Neese.
Aye.
Councilmember Andral.
Aye.
And Councilmember Weicker.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The consent agenda passes. Our first item of regular business is AB 6285, adoption of interim outdoor dining regulations ordinance number 23C09, for which we welcome Deputy CPD Director Allison Van Gorp. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll keep this pretty brief. I don't have a PowerPoint. I'm just going to kind of walk through the purpose of this agenda bill, which is to renew and extend our outdoor dining regulations. Back in December, the council extended interim regulations that were in place since the beginning of the pandemic, essentially, that allow outdoor dining and service of liquor in the public right-of-way and in private parking spaces to assist restaurants and food and beverage establishments with having their services more accessible, both during the pandemic and now as we're recovering from the pandemic. And when we renewed those regulations back in December, it was with the thought that the state liquor and cannabis board would be sunsetting their temporary loosening of liquor regulations from the pandemic here in July 1st in 2023. But the state legislature acted this session to extend those temporary provisions that allow a little bit relaxed regulations for the sale of liquor outdoors. And those have been extended through July 1st of 2025. And so the city has now been asked by a local business owner to also extend our outdoor dining provisions to enable this to continue for the next couple of years. So this ordinance, number 23C-09, is our stab at that. It would extend the outdoor dining provisions for another year with a work plan where we will look at putting together permanent regulations that would address these needs on an ongoing basis and look at other temporary use needs around food and beverage sales.
Very good. All right, council, any questions? Because it's familiar to most of us that one go around or another. Council, is there a motion to adopt the first reading under City Council Rules of Procedure 6.3 (C) ordinance number 23C-09 on interim regulations in MICC 19.11.060 related to outdoor dining, and schedule a public hearing for July 18, 2023.
So moved. Second.
Who was the first move on that? You know who you are. Oh, Jacobson. Okay, and seconded by Councilmember Andrew.
Yeah. A lot of us think who were the first one.
I know somebody was the first mover on it, and I just didn't catch who it was. All right, City Clerk, please call the roll.
That moved by Councilmember Jacobson, seconded by Councilmember Andrew.
You got it.
Councilmember Andrew.
Yes, I second.
Okay.
No, he asked me to call the roll.
Oh, okay, then aye.
Mayor Neese.
Aye.
Councilmember Weinberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Reynolds.
Aye.
Councilmember Jacobson.
Aye.
Councilmember Weicker.
Aye.
And Deputy Mayor Rosenbaum.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Motion passes. We now move to other business in the planning schedule, for which we welcome back City Manager Jesse Bond.
Good evening again. Just a reminder, council, about the July 5th is your next council meeting. It's a Wednesday, the day after the 4th of July. Also wanted to note that we will be touching base with you at that meeting on potential changes to the scope and schedule for the comprehensive plan periodic update. This primarily relates to outcomes from the recent legislative session. Also, we have a number of hearings that we added to your July 18th City Council meeting. Same idea. Those are related to code changes we have to make, interim regulations we need to pass to be compliant with the legislative session. That is all I have for you this evening, except to point out that we are still intending to have an August recess where we will not have council meetings.
Very good. All right. Speaking of absences, any absences to report upcoming beyond the August recess? No? All right, councilmember reports. Councilmember Randall, anything to report?
Nothing new to report. Thank you.
Jacobson?
Just well done to the city for keeping up the plantings on the median and Highland Crest and downtown. They really look great. And it's, I get continuous positive comments from our residents from that. Thank you.
Ditto to that. I have nothing to report. Councilmember Reynolds?
Just a couple of quick things. One, I was out of town this weekend, so I wasn't able to partake, but I wanted to thank the city and the local community volunteers who put on the Pride and Juneteenth events. I heard very good things about both of them. And then also just to say something out loud that I said in writing already, a big congratulations to Officer Franklin on a wonderful career and wish her a long and healthy retirement.
For sure. Deputy Mayor Rosenbaum?
No, I was able to attend both the events over the weekend. They were great. So thanks to everyone who worked really hard to put those on.
Excellent. Councilmember Weicker, who's in?
I'll just say congrats to all those Mercer High School graduates who just graduated recently.
And we owe you a big thank you for being at AWC, representing us. So we appreciate that.
You're welcome. You should take note and look at the session.
Yeah. Councilmember Weimer.
I just wanted to add another +1 onto the congratulations to the city and to the school district for the excellent Juneteenth celebration on the 19th. It was a live band and food trucks and lots of booths. My good friend Mike Radau had some free books at his booth that I took. A couple of them came home with me. So it's a great tradition. I'm glad that it's expanding this year and looking forward to next year as well.
Very good. All right. The City Council will now go into executive session for approximately 60 minutes for planning or adopting the strategy or position to be taken by the City Council during the course of any collective bargaining, professional negotiations or grievance or mediation proceedings, or reviewing the proposals made in negotiations or proceedings while in progress pursuant to RCW 42.30.140, paren 4, close paren, little b, close paren, and to discuss with legal counsel litigation or potential litigation to which the city is or is likely to become a party pursuant to RCW 42.30.110, paren 1, close paren, little I, close paren. The City Council will reconvene in open session after executive session to take action on matters discussed during executive session. And we will end the broadcast here for that duration. Thank you.
Mayor Neese, the broadcast will stay live and you guys can leave.
Very good.
Good evening, and thank you for watching the June 20th, 2023 City Council Special Hybrid Meeting. City Council will continue in executive session for an additional 30 minutes. Thank you for your patience. Good evening, and thank you for watching the June 20th, 2023 City Council Special Hybrid Meeting. City Council will remain in executive session for an additional 15 minutes. Thank you for your patience. Good evening, and thank you for your continued patience. City Council will remain in executive session for an additional 15 minutes. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we are live again. Councilmember Jacobson has not rejoined us, so we're working on that.
Okay, I'll just give that another minute or two.
Try refreshing. Actually, we're on the phone with Councilmember Jacobson right now, so maybe just one more minute.
Sounds good. All right, looks like we're all back. Thank you for rejoining us. Thank you for your patience. The City Council was in executive session for 120 minutes to discuss with legal counsel collective bargaining and potential litigation. Coming out of that executive session, the council will be looking to make a motion, and the motion that I would like someone to make or make and second is to move to direct the city manager to begin negotiations with Eastside Fire and Rescue for regional fire services consistent with the RFP issued by the city and the response to the RFP received from Eastside Fire and Rescue, and to prepare and bring to the city council at the earliest opportunity an agenda bill presenting the city manager's recommendation on the RFP for regional fire services.
So moved.
Okay.
Point of order.
Before I get to that, moved by Councilmember Weicker, seconded by Councilmember Anderall. I have a motion on the floor and a point of order. State your point.
According to paragraph 5.5, section 5 of the City Council's rules of procedures on page 15, council members agree not to propose substantial amendments and or revisions to any agenda item unless they provide at least 48 hours advance notice to review any written proposal. We have not had 48 hours advance notice to review this written proposal.
Okay, duly noted. The executive session and the agenda had us discussing topics that we are bringing back to the floor. And we'll let Jesse Bond speak to that.
Sure. This is a motion coming out of executive session this evening, council. I can't elaborate on the discussions in the executive session. If we need to reconvene an executive discussion session to discuss this point of order, that may be an option. I'll need to call on our city attorney to advise.
If I may comment, we have not had 48 hours to review this written proposal, and our rules of procedure are something that we should be applying consistently and not only when it's convenient.
As far as the rules of procedure, it's drafted as a should language. So it is, yes, best practices, but it's not a breach to go against it. And as far as the point of order is concerned, the mayor has absolute discretion to do the initial ruling. And if that's challenged, then it's up to the council to determine if the point of order is valid or not.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right. I appreciate that, City Attorney. So I'm going to rule against the point of order.
I appeal.
Okay. The appeal goes to a vote of the council. Is the city clerk with us?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not sure on the procedure for a vote on the appeal. So if you could take us through that.
The appeal, since it was appealed, it would be voted on by council, and I can call the roll if you would like, Mr. Mayor.
Does any council member have a question as to what the vote is?
If you could just clarify as to whether I means that you're voting against or for what the in favor of the mayor's decision, or whether it means you're voting against the mayor's decision.
And I would be your voting in favor of the mayor's decision.
Thank you.
Everybody clear? Okay, please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Rosenbaum.
Aye.
Councilmember Weicker.
Aye.
Councilmember Jacobson.
Aye.
Councilmember Andral.
Aye.
Mayor Neese.
Aye.
Councilmember Reynolds.
Nay.
Councilmember Weinberg.
Nay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 5-2.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. It's moved by Councilmember Weicker, seconded by Councilmember Andral. Any discussion? Councilmember Reynolds.
Yes, I'm going to be voting against this tonight, and I want to lay out a few reasons why. The first is the issue of control. I see the city as having a number of good things it does for the residents of the city, but there are probably 5 main really important functions. One is police, one is fire, one is utilities, one is roads, and one is parks. And I'd hate to see us lose control of our fire system. And to me, that is the beginning of the end of defining what it means to be a city. We're abdicating responsibility for that management of that fire system to another entity. Would lose the ability to have an effective voice in future contract negotiations with the union. Would lose a great deal of voice in how the fire department operates. Now, certainly the negotiated agreement that we will have, that the city manager, I'm sure, would ably negotiate, would protect us against some foreseen choices or decisions we need to make, but it won't protect against the unforeseen. I'm unwilling to give up that control on such a central government service. The second is an issue of cost. We've spent a fair amount of time looking at the cost of the various options that are on the table. We know that there are a number of ways in which the cost will be increased as a result of this action, a few ways where the cost will likely be decreased. On balance, I have not seen sufficient evidence to convince me that there will be a cost savings associated with this. And in fact, I think it's likely that there will be a cost increase. And I don't think that's fair or appropriate to do to the residents of Mercer Island. The third and most important argument I would make is one of safety. We've had in our own home, as most of you know, including as recently as a few weeks ago, have had Mercer Island aid cars come to our house to deal with health scares in my elderly in-laws. When we make those calls, the firefighters come quickly. They know our house, they know our driveway, they know how to get down the steep hill that gets to our house. And I know that we're going to have people living and working on the island that have serviced this island for years, if not decades. And any new structure that we propose with Eastside Fire, yes, it appears we'll have approximately the same level of staffing under the current plans, but we're still going to in a situation where periodically the staff will rotate in or out of the island, and we'll have staff that do not know our island. They do not know our people. They do not know our streets. They have to rely on, in many cases, we'll have to rely on GPS to find our houses. We'll have to rely on architecture plans and other structures to figure out the safest way to access a multi-story building on the island. I think it's putting the safety of island residents at risk, and I'm just not willing to do that. So I will be voting no this evening.
Councilmember Andrew.
Thanks. Yeah, well, I just have to say, Craig, with all due respect, not to address my comments directly to you, but just to the points that you've made, I completely disagree. I there are no current firefighters who live on the island. So that's a very misleading point to the extent that you suggested that. I have faith in the East Side folks to staff adequately with trained personnel. All of these things are, of course, can be subject to contract negotiation. I think every single one of us has said we will not accept a diminution in safety or service quality for our residents. So I think these are kind of irresponsible scare tactics. I also think that to the extent that your concern is that we're going to lose control over the fire services, I think we essentially already have. We do not have a favorable agreement with our current union. It has resulted in some negative consequences in terms of cost for us. I think that instructing the city manager to go forth and negotiate something that preserves safety, service quality, and has the potential, if not actual result, of reining in or reducing or at least stabilizing, creating additional predictability for our cost structure is the most responsible thing to do. And so I'm therefore going to be voting a very strong yes in favor of this.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Rosenbaum.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was trying to find this in my email, but we apparently got a lot of email from Jesse. There was a note that was sent a few weeks ago, I think after our last meeting, that had to do with some questions that I posed and some other folks posed about some specialties that would be gained, potentially by contracting. And I see that as a net gain in safety. I think there's a lot there that would be adding of that current processes and training for our firefighters that we don't currently have that would I think would increase safety. I also think we just need to be clear what we are voting on tonight. It's to, ask Jesse to negotiate. We're not voting on any final decision tonight. So I just if there's anyone watching, just to be clear on that, I think a lot of what we don't know, my hope is can be answered in terms of these negotiations, so we can get a real good sense of what that would look like. And Jesse would come back to us with her recommendation one way or the other, when she feels appropriate.
Great. Councilmember Jacobson. You're on mute, Jake.
Okay. I concur with the comments of my fellow council members, Anderl and Rosenbaum. I also have every confidence that we have a city manager who will negotiate something in the best interest of this island. And that confidence is absolute, unshakable. Point number 2 is, I'm willing to bet $1,000 for anybody who wants to take the other side of it, that at the end of 2 years, our costs will be less on an annual basis than they have been in the past 2 years. So anybody who'd like a piece of that one, just let me know.
Councilmember Weinberg.
So what we're contemplating here is the outsourcing of 15% of the staff of the city of Mercer Island. We need more time for the public to have in-person informational sessions to inform our citizens about the effects and the implications of this change. Outsourcing to East Side would erode safety by enabling more intercity staff rotations, and it would increase costs in the long term and never fully recover the transition costs. I strongly encourage my colleagues on the council to vote against this motion.
Councilmember Weicker.
I just want to say this is not about public safety. We're going to keep the utmost safety standards that we've had and enjoy and will continue to enjoy. For me, this is an economies of scale, and this is a chance for opportunities to enhance the services we already have. I want to thank our city leadership. I want to thank Salim. I want to thank our consultants for getting us to this point. And I'd like to see what can come back with giving Jesse this authority to give us more information. So I just want to say thank you, fully support this direction.
Thank you. Councilmember Reynolds.
I'll rely on the city attorney to advise us on whether accepting this bet will be legal, but Councilmember Jacobson, you're on.
Okay. City clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Weicker,
Aye.
Mayor Neese,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Rosenbaum,
Aye.
Councilmember Reynolds,
Nay.
Councilmember Andral,
Aye.
Councilmember Weinberg,
Nay.
Councilmember Jacobson.
Aye.
5-2. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Motion passes. The next hybrid meeting of the City Council is scheduled for Wednesday, July 5th, 2023 at 5 p.m. The time is now 8:38 p.m. As a reminder to the council, please stay seated until the staff has terminated the broadcast. Good evening